Okay, let's unpack this then. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are really getting into a set of revision notes all about human papillomavirus HPV, focusing on the vaccination side and how it's managed.
Yeah, think of us as your filter for this. We've got these detailed notes, and we're going to pull out the really crucial bits, the high-yield stuff. The aim is to make sure you walk away really understanding the key points, for whatever you need it for revision, exams.
Exactly. Mission for today, get you up to speed quickly, clearly on what can be a pretty complex topic. We'll go through the whole thing, what HPV actually is, how you get it, prevention, managing it, and sort of the bigger picture.
All tailored for you. So let's dive in.
Okay, first things first, the absolute basics.
Yep.
HPV vaccination, what are we fundamentally trying to do with it, according to these notes?
Well, at its core, it's using a vaccine to build protection, specifically against certain types of HPV infection.
And the big goal, what diseases are we trying to head off?
It's really targeting the serious stuff HPV can cause. The notes highlight things like cervical cancer, obviously, but also anal, oropharyngeal cancers,
Yeah.
and genital warts, too.
Right, and the notes are clear. The virus itself infects those specific skin cells, the keratinocytes, and crucially, it's carcinogenic. It can cause cancer.
Mm-hmm. And this is where knowing the different types of HPV is, well, vital. The notes make a really sharp distinction here, and it's one you definitely want to remember.
Okay, lay it on me. What's the key distinction?
So you've got HPV types 6 and 11, think warts. They're strongly linked to genital warts.
6 and 11, warts. Got it.
Then you have types 16 and 18. These are the high-risk ones, the ones mainly linked to the cancers.
Okay, so 16 and 18 are the major cancer culprits. And the notes list out the cancers again. Cervical, anal, vulval, vaginal, mouth, and throat. That feels like a list to commit to memory.
Absolutely. Now, thinking about the UK specifically, the vaccination program started for girls aged 12-13. That was back in 2008.
And then for boys.
That came later, added in 2018, same age group, 12-13.
But, and this seems like a really important but, from the notes, the vaccine is great for the types it covers, but it doesn't cover all the cancer-causing types.
Exactly, which is precisely why routine screening, like cervical screening, is still so incredibly important. It's not optional just because you've been vaccinated.
Yeah, that routine cervical screening, which now mostly uses HPV testing first, is a core part of the whole prevention picture.
Mm-hmm. And the notes also slot in safer sex advice, obviously, as part of that comprehensive approach. Can't forget that.
Okay, moving on to, like, the cause, etiology. How does someone actually get HPV?
Simple answer. It's a sexually transmitted infection, an STI. The virus spreads through sexual contact, vaginal, anal, or oral.
And the potential outcome we keep coming back to is cancer development down the line.
Mm-hmm.
So who's most at risk? What factors make someone more susceptible based on the notes?
Okay, the notes list a few key things. Starting sexual activity early, having multiple partners over time,
Right.
having a weakened immune system that's highlighted as quite significant, and not using protection, so unprotected sex. These all increase the risk.
So let's dig a bit deeper into how the virus actually works inside the body, the pathophysiology bit. What's the basic mechanism?
Well, once it's transmitted, HPV likes those keratinocytes we mentioned, skin and mucous membranes. The infection can then cause things like, visible warts, or it can cause changes in the cells that you can't see initially, precancerous changes.
And that's the link to cancer, those cell changes.
Exactly. But the absolute key word here is persistent infection, particularly with those high-risk types like 16 and 18. If your immune system doesn't clear the virus, that ongoing persistent infection is what can drive those cellular changes forward, potentially leading to cancer over years.
What other key facts about the virus itself do the notes pull out? Things to remember.
Okay, quick facts. It's a DNA virus. The genital infections are the ones linked to warts and cancers. Transmission is sexual contact. Risk is higher in certain groups, and this is a really significant point they make. HIV infection seriously increases the risk of HPV-related diseases. That connection, HIV and HPV risk, is definitely high yield.
Right, which just underlines why vaccination and screening, especially that primary HPV testing, are such powerful interventions. They target this whole process.
Yeah.
Now, the notes touch briefly on differentials. If someone comes in with symptoms, what else should be on the radar besides HPV?
Yeah, it's brief but important. You got to think, could it be something else causing, say, genital warts or causing abnormal cervical cells? Could it be a different STI? Or maybe even a condition totally unrelated to HPV, just keeping that differential diagnosis broad.
Okay, shifting focus now to the big picture.
Yeah.
Epidemiology, especially in the UK context. What's the main story here?
The big story is definitely the routine vaccination program, vaccinating boys and girls around age 12-13, and the notes really emphasize the high coverage they've achieved.
And the impact. Is it working?
Oh, yeah. The notes say there's already a significant drop in HPV-related diseases being observed. It's held up as a major public health success.
What about just how common HPV is generally, prevalence?
It's tricky to track perfectly because so many infections don't cause symptoms, and there are loads of different types. But they mention a UK study looking at antibodies, seroprevalence. It found it was pretty low in young girls, like around 14, but then climbs quite a bit in the mid to late teens, which makes sense as sexual activity increases.
Right. And the notes list the specific vaccines used in the UK over time. Could you run through those?
Sure. So initially there was Cervarix. That was bivalent, meaning it covered two types, 16 and 18.
Okay, the main cancer ones.
Exactly. Then came Gardasil, the quadrivalent one. That covered 6 and 11, the main wart types, plus 16 and 18, so 4 types.
Right, warts and cancer.
And the vaccine currently used is Gardasil 9. As the name suggests, it covers 9 types. It includes the original 4, 6, 11, 16, 18, plus 5 other high-risk types, 31, 33, 45, 52, 58.
Wow, okay. So 2 types, then 4, now 9. What did the notes say about how effective they are?
The key message is they're highly effective against the specific types they cover. And the protection seems to last a long time. The notes mention at least 10 years, possibly much longer.
And is it worth the cost? From a health economics perspective.
Yes, definitely. They cite a WHO study showing it's cost-effective globally. And specifically, vaccinating 12-year-old girls prevents a huge number of future cervical cancer cases and deaths. The notes also add that vaccinating boys too, gender-neutral vaccination is also considered cost-effective, assuming a, realistic price for the vaccine.
What about for preventing warts specifically? Any data on that?
Yeah, really impressive data for Gardasil, the 4 type 1. It was about 99% effective against warts caused by types 6 and 11 in young women in the trials. And they point to Australia, which had widespread vaccination earlier. They saw massive drops in genital warts, not just in the vaccinated women, but in men too, thanks to that herd protection. The UK expects to see similar benefits.
Okay, we've covered the virus, the vaccines, the numbers. What does HPV actually look like when someone has it, clinically? Because the notes stress, often it looks like.
Nothing. Yeah, often silent. That's probably the single most important clinical point. Many infections have no signs or symptoms at all, especially early on.
Okay, so if it's often silent, what might someone notice? What are the potential presentations?
Well, the obvious one is genital warts, visible growths. They might cause itching or discomfort, the notes say.
Right.
And the other main way it's picked up is through cervical screening, finding those abnormal cells. These might cause symptoms like abnormal bleeding, maybe bleeding after sex, but often even these cell changes are found before they cause any symptoms.
So how do we actually check? What are the investigations?
It's usually a combination approach. The notes mention clinical examination, actually looking, taking a good history, especially sexual history, and then lab tests.
And the key lab tests.
HPV DNA testing is the big one now, especially for cervical screening. And the Pap smear, or cytology, which looks directly at the cervical cells for abnormalities.
Right, let's get into management. This covers prevention too, and the details of the UK vaccination program seem really important here in the notes. Lots of specifics.
Yeah, this is definitely a section to focus on for revision. So primary prevention, top of the list, is the National HPV Immunization Program. Vaccination.
And secondary prevention.
That's all about the regular cervical screening. Catching things early if they do develop, early detection, early management.
Okay, let's break down this vaccination schedule and who's eligible, based on the notes. Seems quite detailed.
It is. Okay, the big rule change happened in 2014. Since then, a 2-dose schedule works just as well if you start the course before you turn 15.
Before 15, 2 doses. So the routine NHS program, starting in year 8, ages 12-13, they get 2 doses. Standard dose is 0.5 millimeter.
Correct. And for that under 15 group, the second dose can be given anytime between 6 and 24 months after the first one. Quite a flexible window.
What if you start later, age 15 or older?
Then it changes. If you're 15 or over when you start using Gardasil, it's a 3-dose schedule. First dose, then the second dose at least 1 month later, and the third dose needs to be at least 3 months after the second dose. There's also a rule about the third being at least 5 months after the first. Bit more complex.
So remember that age 15 cutoff, before 15 is 2 doses. 15 or older is 3 doses. That's a key takeaway.
Definitely. The notes also mentioned there isn't a specific national catch-up for boys who missed it, partly due to herd immunity expectations. But the goal is still getting those 2 doses in before infection risk really ramps up.
Let's quickly run through the eligibility details in the notes. These age ranges seem crucial.
Okay. Ages 9-11, not routinely offered.
12-13, year 8. Routine for everyone, boys and girls.
If you interrupt the course, just pick it up where you left off with the right timing. No need to start again.
Starting a course. Under 15 gets 2 doses. 15 or older gets 3. We covered that.
Catch up. Anyone aged 13 up to their 25th birthday who missed it can get it free on the NHS.
What about over 25s?
Generally, no NHS vaccination unless you're in a higher risk group. The main group mentioned is men who have sex with men, MSM.
Right. MSM eligibility is different. They can get free vaccination up to age 45. That's a specific targeted measure.
Correct. And the notes add that trans women with similar risk factors are also eligible up to 45. These specific rules, especially MSM and the 13 to 24 catch-up, are prime revision facts.
What about side effects? Adverse reactions?
The main message is very safe, very well tolerated. The common things are mild and short-lived. You know, a sore arm, some redness or swelling where the injection went in.
Any other mild things?
Maybe a slight fever, feeling a bit sick or dizzy, maybe some diarrhea or muscle aches, all listed as possible, but mild and temporary.
Anything serious or rare?
Well, like any vaccine, there's an extremely small risk of a severe allergic reaction, anaphylaxis. Very rare, though. The notes mention reports of primary ovarian failure globally, but stress there's no significant link found, and serious reactions overall are incredibly uncommon compared to the benefits.
Any groups needing special handling?
Yes. People who are immunosuppressed or living with HIV, they might need 3 doses even if they start under 15. Sometimes reimmunization might be considered. Best to get specialist advice for these individuals.
And just recapping the UK program details.
Yeah.
Started 2008, used Cervix, then switched to Gardasil, given in schools, usual consent processes apply. And that specific indication for MSM is about reducing their higher risk of anal, throat, and penile cancers. Okay, so after vaccination or infection, what's the long-term outlook? Prognosis? Let's start with the prognosis for the infection itself.
Right. If you get a persistent high-risk infection, yes, it can lead to complications like cancer over time. But, and this is a really crucial, but in the notes, most high-risk HPV infections are actually transient. Your body clears them. Often the infection causes no symptoms and just resolves on its own. So while the potential for serious outcomes is there if it persists, it often doesn't persist.
That's actually quite reassuring. So most infections clear up, but vaccination changes the game.
Massively. It dramatically cuts the risk of getting infected with the types most likely to cause cancer in the first place, particularly cervical cancer, plus the other benefits against warts and other cancers depending on the vaccine.
So for people who get the vaccine, the outlook is generally much better, a significantly reduced risk of these diseases.
Absolutely. But the notes constantly circle back to screening. Why is screening still essential even if you're vaccinated?
Because the vaccine doesn't cover absolutely every single high-risk type. And screening is there to pick up any changes caused by those other types or in people who maybe weren't vaccinated or didn't get the full benefit. It's that safety net.
Exactly. Comprehensive risk reduction. The notes also loop back to mention anal and penile cancer being less common overall, but rates are higher in MSM and people with HIV, reinforcing those risk factors and the targeted interventions. And reminding us again that high-risk HPV types are the main cause of cervical cancer.
Okay, last section. Potential problems, complications. First, complications arising from the HPV infection.
The 2 big ones hammered home in the notes are genital warts, which can be distressing and recurrent, and cancer development. That persistent high-risk infection leading to precancer and then invasive cancer, cervical, anal, penile, throat, mouth.
And this is precisely why we have things like HPV testing and screening and safer sex education. They're trying to prevent or catch these complications early.
Correct. Now, flip side, complications from the vaccine.
The notes seem very positive here.
Overwhelmingly so. Extremely safe, very well tolerated. Complications are generally just those minor temporary side effects, sore arm, maybe feeling a bit unwell for a day, the things we already discussed.
So serious problems from the vaccine are very rare.
Exceptionally rare. And the crucial point the notes make is that getting vaccinated helps prevent the really serious complications of the infection, the cancers that can be fatal, and the significant problems warts can cause.
Okay, wow. That was a pretty thorough journey through those HPV notes. We really covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we've gone from the basic definition through the key virus types, 6, 11, 16, 18, remember those? risk factors, how it works, the epidemiology, especially the UK vaccine program rollout and schedules.
Hmm.
What it looks like clinically, often nothing. Investigations, the detailed management, including who gets vaccinated when, the prognosis, complications. Phew, you've basically got the high-yield summary right there.
All the key facts and figures pulled out for you.
So maybe a final thought to leave you with, something that ties this all together. We see this amazing success with vaccination dramatically reducing disease rates. Yet there's this constant drumbeat in the notes about the absolute need for continued screening. What does that tell us? Maybe it highlights that public health wins often aren't just one magic bullet. It's about layers. Vaccination is hugely powerful primary prevention, but screening acts as that vital secondary prevention layer, catching what the first layer might miss, especially for a virus that can be silent for so long before causing major harm. It's that layer defense, isn't it? It really is. That combination is key. And understanding all those pieces from the notes, the virus, the vaccine, the screening, the risks, gives you that full, powerful picture.
Absolutely. Well, if this deep dive format, breaking down complex notes into manageable high-yield chunks, works for you, definitely go check out PathomSRA.com.
And for more free resources, revision aids, things like that, head over to freemsra.com.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.